Oh, yeah, baby. It's Friday night. You know it's Friday night because Steve Buchanan and Matt LaMarca are on your mobile device, your desktop, whatever you're watching this on, Oculus. I don't know. You're watching us in VR. Kind of strange, but maybe you are. The slate is happening right now here tonight, Friday night, getting you ready for this 15-game slate over on Major League Baseball. As I mentioned, I'm Steve Buchanan with my handsome co-host, Matt LaMarca, who is making waves on the Whatnot app. So make sure to check him out with all this card stuff over there. Hey, you know, hey, no problem, man. You know, what are they going to do? Fire me over that? Go ahead. I don't care. But we're going to talk about this 15-game slate here tonight in Major League Baseball. A couple of news items to get to really before we start off. Glenn Otto has been scratched for tonight for the Rangers. He came down with COVID. Also going on the COVID list is Mitch Garver. So it looks like the Rangers are going to be going on the with a bullpen game here tonight. Hasn't been confirmed as of yet. That actually might be a good thing for them. Their bullpen has been rock solid, by the way, which is not something I expected to be saying, you know, almost in the middle of June, that the Rangers bullpen has been pitching well. Over the past week, though, just over a 2.2 ERA over the past week or so. So they've been solid on that. Going up against a White Sox team that's starting to heat up a little bit there. But like I mentioned, now it's a little bit of a tougher matchup for them going up against the Rangers bullpen. Before we dive into this slate tonight, I need to get your opinion on something really quick.
Okay.
Did you see the controversy with the White Sox yesterday in Trey Turner?
Of course.
Okay. Just give me a quick synopsis on how you felt about that.
I mean, in the moment, I didn't have a problem with La Russa saying, I'm not going to let Trey Turner beat me here. Right. Sure. Trey Turner, arguably the Dodgers' best hitter. I mean, you could certainly say Mookie Betts or Freddie Freeman would be that, but I get it. If I am facing the Dodgers and I have an open base and it's Trey Turner versus Max Muncy, I will pitch to Max Muncy every time when I have a left-handed pitcher on the mound. However, the fact that it was a 1-2 count and you didn't try to get him to chase or nibble or whatever, didn't make a ton of sense. And if you don't have a pitcher that you trust to do that, I guess it's fine. But then after the game is where things really went off the rails.
Oh, boy.
Because he brought up Trey Turner's stats against left-handed pitchers with a 1-2 count. Meanwhile, Trey Turner is hitting sub 200 in that split. So it's like, what the heck kind of numbers is Tony La Russa looking at? Because when he first said it, I was like, okay, I guess Trey Turner must be good in that situation. And then you see it and it's like, who knows? I think at some point you get to an age where you probably shouldn't be working anymore. I'm approaching that age, by the way. Just
me too.
Everyone's curious. For me, that age is about 30, 34, 35, I think. But
yep, that's me.
But yeah, La Russa is it's just, despite the fact that the White Sox won that division last year, one of the worst divisions in recent memory, the whole White Sox experience has been kind of a disaster.
Yeah, no doubt. And the funny thing for me, where I really started to where the gears started turning in my head was, so if the plan was that you didn't want to get ahead in the count, why wouldn't you just walk him off the jump? Because ideally, if you get ahead of him in the count, it's like, okay, you're in a good spot. But now
I suppose
it's like,
the wild pitch was what allowed the runner to move up. You know, you didn't start the at-bat with a runner on second, or else they probably would have just walked more than that. But
right,
whatever. It's silly. It clearly backfired for Uncle Tony. But yeah, not going great up there in the north side of Chicago. I believe they're the north siders.
They are. I believe they are the north side as well. And at this point, by the way, if I'm not mistaken, the Guardians actually have a better record than the White Sox at this point, if I'm not mistaken. That is
they're 2 games up on the White Sox.
Not only that, the Guardians are actually kind of sort of in a playoff hunt right now, which is incredible too as well. Almost at the midway point of June. Okay, that was just that. Any chance I get to trash Tony La Russa, I will take advantage of it. So with me, kind of steering the ship here, absolutely getting that in. If you didn't want to hear about that, that's too bad. Let's talk about tonight. For a 15-game slate, I went over the pitching options and I was like, this kind of stinks.
Pretty uninspiring.
Yeah, right. Like you think all 30 teams are in action. There's no weather concerns anywhere across the United States of America and Canada tonight. We have nothing to worry about there. And yet it's very underwhelming. The pitching going tonight. Joe Musgrove, Luis Severino, Pablo Lopez, Zach Gallen. Those are the four most expensive guys. Good pitchers by all means. But that's really kind of where it drops off dramatically, at least for me. After that, I know your guy McGill's coming back from the IL tonight, going against the Angels team that was finally able to snap the losing streak last night. But if you looked at the Red Sox lineup, they were begging them to snap that losing streak. So I guess, shout out to the Angels, but you just beat, AA Red Sox last night. But where are you starting tonight with pitching? I am leaning with Lopez against the Astros, but I'd like to hear where you are going. I'd like to hear where you're going first and foremost.
I really have given Pablo Lopez zero consideration.
Okay, good.
If you want to say he's a contrarian option, a contrarian pivot, then sure, I get that. But I think just in a vacuum, Musgrove and Severino are the two best options here. Both players have really good matchups. I would give a slight edge to Severino just based off of how the Yankees have handled their starting pitchers recently. They are letting these guys pitch pretty deep into games. Sevy has gone at least right, except for their weakest starter, Garrett Cole. Severino has gone at least 6 now in 4 straight games. He has at least 7 strikeouts in 3 of them. The matchup versus the Cubs is not particularly imposing. Yeah. They have the 12th highest strikeout rate. They're basically league average against right-handed pitchers. So I think Severino is the guy that I'm leaning towards as my favorite option. But yeah, I think him and Musgrove are the clear top 2 before you start factoring in things like ownership, etc.
Yeah, I have no qualms against that. Musgrove against the Rockies in San Diego too. So obviously there's a bump there. That's nice. Going against Chad Kuhl, who we crapped all over on the last show. Very good chance to earn the win. Luis Severino against the Cubs, who are very underwhelming. Fine. This is why I was looking at Lopez at 10,100. A few factors here that I like about Lopez. Lopez has faced some teams that have been very tough to strike out this year, and 2 of his top strikeout outputs have been against teams with some of the lower K rates in the league against righties. That is the St. Louis Cardinals and the Tampa Bay Rays. In those games combined, he went 14 innings, struck out 14. So he's averaging basically a strikeout per inning in those matchups. The Houston Astros are also a very tough team to strike out. But the caveat here for me is that the Astros are also one of the weaker teams in the league against the changeup. And that has really what's brought Pablo Lopez to a different level this year. As of today, he is throwing his fastball and changeup almost exactly the same amount. So he's varying his speeds with both pitches, but he's getting much stronger results this time around because of how nasty that changeup has been. If you have not been able to watch a Pablo Lopez start, I would advise you, because he's probably going to get lit up now, but I would advise you to watch how he pitches tonight and how good that changeup has been. So I look at Lopez, who is, only a $400 difference between him and Musgrove, between the top 3 pitchers tonight. But I do like this matchup against him in Houston as well. He's pitched much better on the road than he has at home. He's got like a sub 1.5 ERA on the road this season. His advanced numbers on the road have been great too as well. So I think Lopez is not going to get a ton of attention tonight. But I think he's in just as good as a spot as some of these other high price guys against the Cubs and whatnot. So I think Lopez is in a great spot tonight. He's gotten blown up a couple times over his past couple starts. In those starts, one of them was against the Rays, and the Giants touched him up a little bit too. But I still think the upside is really high with how he's pitched so far this season.
I don't hate that call. I mean, I don't particularly like targeting the Astros offense just for all the reasons that you mentioned. They don't strike out very much. They're above average hitting unit, but you make an interesting point with the changeup. I mean, his changeup has been just so insanely good this season. Opponents with a 262 xWOBA against it. He's got a 33% K rate with that pitch. So I'll take your word for it that the Astros struggle against that pitch. And if that's the case, then I think it's a viable play at, 1 to 5% ownership.
Yeah, his ownership is going to be coming in very low tonight, so that's something to consider there. After that, this is where it gets really kind of dicey for me. I personally, I want nothing to do with Walker Buehler at this point. For just the salary doesn't make sense to me. He's constantly in like this high 9K, low 10K range, and he hasn't even come close to matching that output in his last 5 starts. -3 points against the Mets the last time out. That don't help anybody. But then he's not even surpassing 14 points in 4 straight starts before that. So why do I want him against the Giants tonight at the same salary he was the last time out against the Mets at 9,800? It doesn't make any sense.
It continues to befuddle me as well. I don't think Walker Buehler is that good, at least from a fantasy perspective, because he doesn't strike out many batters.
No.
So yeah, I'm with you. I would rather go with Zach Gallen at 9,900 or Pablo Lopez at 10-1. If you are looking for a contrarian option, I think both of those guys are better bets. And Tyler McGill, there are obviously some concerns. It's his first start back. He could be a bit limited, but he's facing an Angels lineup with the second highest strikeout rate against right-handed pitchers this season. And he has been really good this season prior to that last start before he went on the IL where he got, pretty much blown up. But yeah. I think that that's like a intriguing trio of tournament options with McGill and Lopez and Gallen. Again, Musgrove and Severino, they're going to be the popular plays. They, I think, finish as higher scorers more often than not. But if you want one of those, 1 to 5% ownership type plays, try and take a shot. I think all 3 of those guys we mentioned have some appeal.
So McGill, yes, McGill threw 3 2/3 innings in his only rehab start in the minors. So I would expect him to go 4, maybe 5 if things go well in this one. So you are capped a little bit here at the $9,700 salary. But that being said, when you compare him to Walker Buehler, I don't even put them in the same category at this point. McGill has really strong strikeout upside, 37 strikeouts, 34 2/3 innings. Coming into this game tonight, Walker Buehler is striking out less than a batter an inning, 7.7 on the year. The first time in his career thus far that he's striking out less than a batter an inning. So for somebody who's nearly 10K tonight, I would at least expect a strikeout per 9 inning. Not happening with Buehler. You are getting that with McGill. So against that Angels lineup, most likely without Mike Trout again tonight as well, it's hard not to like him even at the $9,700 price point. One other guy I wanted to bring up tonight, I was a little curious if you had any thoughts on him. Luis Castillo has been fantastic, really, since being activated early last month. Pitched a real nice gem against the Red Sox 2 starts ago, 6 innings, 1 hit allowed, struck out 10, struggled a little bit against the Nationals, 3 runs allowed, 5 of them in total, only 3 of them earned, but still struck out 6 with 6 1/3 innings. This Cardinals team has been peaks and valleys, I think, all season long, but a lot of their numbers are much stronger against lefties than they are righties. So I kind of am looking at Castillo here at 8,500 because, again, once you get past like him, the drop-off is pretty significant. So am I crazy about taking $8,500 for Castillo against the Cardinals? Not particularly, but the production drop-off, I think, literally for the rest of the slate is a dramatic drop after that.
Yeah, I think there are some cheaper guys that make a lot of sense, and we can talk about them in a bit. But I agree, Luis Castillo is a fine option. The one thing is that the Cardinals are just their team that doesn't strike out. They don't hit the ball particularly hard. They make a lot of weak contact, but they do not strike out. So I think it's a spot where Castillo's strikeout upside might be a bit lower than usual, but he should be able to keep the runs off the scoreboard. So I think he's fine. Again, he's not expected to be all that popular. So I think using him makes sense.
All right. So you mentioned some of the cheaper guys that are on the slate. Where are you looking here? If I had a guess, is it going to be Spencer Strider against the Pirates?
Well, Spencer Strider is 7K, and he is expected to be the most popular pitcher in this price range, which makes no sense to me because Jose Barrios is $500 more. He doesn't have nearly the same like length concerns that Strider does, right? Strider hasn't gone 5 innings yet in his career. I get that it's a great matchup, but he's yet to pitch past the fifth or into the 5th inning. Jose Barrios just is coming off a 13 strikeout performance in his last game. I have never been a huge fan of Jose Barrios.
Me neither.
That last outing aside, he's not a pitcher who typically piles up the strikeouts, but he does get relatively deep into games. He's like a 6 to 7 inning type of pitcher, and he draws a phenomenal matchup versus the Tigers, who have the 4th highest strikeout rate against right-handed pitchers and are dead last in WRC+. I don't understand why this guy is not the stone chalk tonight.
No, I agree with that too. And like Barrios is not somebody that I like to harp on or recommend or anything like that, because his lack of consistency is a genuine concern, as you can just see by the surface numbers here. He hasn't been anything great, but against the Twins, who are red hot right now, by the way, just ask Garrett Cole, 13 strikeouts through 7 innings, only gave up 2 runs on 3 hits. Now you're facing a team that provides plenty of strikeout upside in the Tigers. I believe their lineup tonight, of all the lineups going tonight, they have the highest overall average K rate at 25.7%. So you talk about what you just saw from Barrios in his last start, has that strikeout upside. We haven't seen it a ton this season. Other than the 13, he hasn't exceeded more than 7 at any point this season. You see a lot of 4s down here, 5s. So we've seen that from him before, but I do think this is a really good matchup for him against the Tigers. So I would be on him as well. Is there anybody else you're looking at in this range at all?
Those are kind of the cheaper players that I think are interesting. I mean, Aaron Ashby for the Brewers, if you haven't been paying attention to what he's been doing, has just been an absolute stud. He's got 21 strikeouts in 12 innings in his past 2 starts.
Yeah.
He's definitely a bit more expensive now. Taking on Washington, it's just kind of a meh matchup there. But Aaron Ashby, certainly somebody that I have in my player pool tonight. I think that, with so many options to choose from, it's kind of a good spot to get a little bit wide with your player pool at pitcher. I would say my favorite, like, contrarian cheap guy is Roansy Contreras at 6,700.
Yeah.
Definitely a boomer bust type play, tournament only type option, but he had a good game in his last outing, 8 strikeouts over 5 2/3. He's taking on an Atlanta team that has the highest strikeout rate in the league against right-handed pitching. So yes, they can do damage when they put the bat on the baseball, but this is a young strikeout pitcher against a team that strikes out a lot. We ride for Roansy here in the LaMarca household.
Let's switch over to the hitting side tonight and some stacks. I don't like to kick a man when he's down, unless it's like Adam Kaufman. But looking at Alvin Rodriguez tonight for the Tigers, have you looked at this guy's stats since he came to Major League Baseball?
It hasn't been good for young Alvin.
He's pitched 16 innings, 16 horrific innings in Major League Baseball since he's come up. 18 runs on 20 hits. Of those 20 hits, 6 of them were home runs.
Now, I will say this about Alvin. Apparently, in that last start against the Yankees, he was tipping his pitches. He was tipping his pitches.
I would hope so, giving up 10 runs in 4 1/3 innings. I would hope.
Specifically when he got in the stretch, and this is all courtesy of John Boy. If you don't follow John Boy, go do that on Twitter. He's hilarious and occasionally finds useful nuggets like this. When he would get a runner,
also part of DraftKings.
There you go. When he would get into the stretch, if he took like a long look on the third base side before coming home, it was a fastball. And if he just gave a brief look, it was something off speed. And the Yankees clearly picked up on it, and they were just teeing off on him. So I'm hoping that he's addressed those issues. Will that make a difference tonight versus the Blue Jays? I have no idea.
Yeah.
But that is something to keep in mind.
So even like with a 16 inning sample size, you have to take like some of these advanced numbers with a grain of salt, because obviously you want a bigger sample size of this. Even if you cut his ERA in half, which is his expected ERA, it's still over 5. So it's not like it's been, he's just been downright unlucky. Okay, even if we take this 10 ERA, we cut it in half, his ERA is still above 5. So it's not like he's been pitching efficiently at all. The only matchup that he did well in was that 4 innings against the Guardians where he gave up nothing. But the White Sox, the Twins, and the Yankees have tagged him for 18 runs through the course of, just over 13 innings. Now he's facing Toronto, who is one of the hottest hitting teams in the league. Over the last 5 games, we're averaging 7.4 runs per game. I mean, I feel like it would be ridiculous to not start with Toronto. And before you give your analysis on that, I got to show you a ridiculous bet you can make on DraftKings Sportsbook.
Show me.
This has been juiced up a bit because, I'm sure people have caught on by now. I'm not saying that I juiced it up. You can bet pitcher props, and you can bet how many earned runs X pitcher gives up. It's set at 2.5 for Alvin Rodriguez at -135. I mean,
that seems pretty tasty.
Right? Even if he has a decent start, you're telling me the Blue Jays can't get at least 3 off of him? So,
I mean, he's got 4 in 3 of his 4 starts, so that seems pretty reasonable.
And I don't want anybody to change the lines now, but I mean, this seems very extremely mispriced if you're asking me. -135. I'll take the over there. Yep.
And we've made a lot of fun of the Toronto lineup earlier in the year, right? We called them the equivalent of that drawing where it's like a beautiful stallion in the front half, and then you get to the poorly drawn horse in the back, and that's kind of like what this Toronto lineup is. But they have been picking it up over the last 14 days. Number 1 team in WRC plus, that would be the Yankees. No surprise there. Number 2 team in WRC plus against right-handers specifically, Toronto Blue Jays.
Yep. And if you want to take this even further, we talked about the last 2 weeks they've been hitting well. If you want to just go through the month of June, right? If you want to just take a look at what they've done there, and I'm not even going to be looking at the players at the top of the lineup. I'm just going to be looking at the teams, the hitters at the bottom of the lineup. They've been hitting pretty well too as well. In fact, since the beginning of June, these 6 through 10 hitters have combined to hit 333 in the month of June with 5 home runs, 19 RBIs. So the bottom half of the Toronto lineup, which has been abysmal for the months of April and May, have now finally started to do something and are the top hitting team with bottom half of the order, 6 through 9 in Major League Baseball during the month of June. So just a fun little nugget there. But yeah, so a couple things we can do tonight. We can stack the Blue Jays, and we can most certainly take the egregious -135 line for over 2.5 runs for Alvin Rodriguez, because I don't know. Maybe this is just like the default earned run number that with the Sportsbook always throws out there, but I saw 2.5 and I said, yes, please. We will take that for 19 units. We will put down on that one there. Bet responsibly. So Alvin Rodriguez, Toronto stack. That's one of the obvious ones. The other obvious one, so let me ask you about this. So the Yankees should be one of the more popular stacks because it's Wade Miley coming off the IL tonight in New York. But the Yankees numbers against lefties are kind of not great. They're not great. So do you ride the chalk and go with the Yankees, or do you think you go elsewhere? Because at this point, I think people just stack the Yankees. It doesn't even matter the matchup anymore. That's just who you stack, right? But if I'm like trying to be not responsible, but if I'm trying to be smart about this, maybe the Yankees aren't the best play tonight going against a lefty, a ground ball lefty at that.
So the Yankees, I don't think will be all that popular tonight. And it's just because of their price tags. I mean, Judge is now 6,300. Stanton is 6K. Rizzo 5,700. Like you said, guys want to play the Yankees every single night. I'm one of them. So I think that this spot versus Miley's numbers this year are pretty solid. 3.38 ERA, 3.34 xERA. Like you said, he's not a strikeout guy, but he keeps the ball on the ground. He's got a 58% ground ball rate this year. So I don't think that this is a great night to target the Yankees, but that kind of makes it a good night to target the Yankees.
Yeah.
You follow?
I mean, look, yeah, I totally follow. I get what you're throwing down. I mean, but just look at the top 5 here. Look at the salary for this. This is the top 5 hitters.
You're done.
And that's asinine. So that means like from there, you're going to have to go with like, Johan Diaz, who,
you got to go with my guy, Roansy, for one spot.
Yep. Yeah. And then
Jose Barrios.
All right, let's take out. No one's playing Diaz. Let's just be honest. All right, and then we do. Yep, Barrios. Ugh.
Oh baby.
like you know what? I'm gonna break a rule here. We're not really supposed to make full lineups here, but like, where would you even go after this? 26-33 for 3 positions. I mean, there's got to be some bum outfield that we can take at the bare minimum at 2K, right?
Yeah.
At some point. Jason Hayward. Okay, against Severino, I can't do that. No. TJ leading off for the Reds. All right, so now you're up to 3K for catcher and shortstop. I don't
we always punt the catcher spot, Steve. You know this.
Believe me. I mean, I that's like a quote to live by. Yeah, sure. Stubbs, 3,900. Yeah,
there you go. Easy work.
Okay, so between Stubbs is an automatic 0. Let's just be totally honest there. And 3,900 for shortstop. You could do Javier Baez, get a couple strikeouts and a home run, maybe. So you're just below Andres Jimenez. Okay. So we didn't build a full lineup. So another thing I can't get fired for because I didn't do it. We didn't build a full lineup. But yeah, so stacking the Yankees is obviously, you'd love to do that, but to be realistic,
you're gonna have to get clever if you want to do it. You can't just go 1 through 5. You gotta mix in some of these lower price guys at the bottom of the lineup. Maybe do like a wraparound stack
with
go
Gonzalez
4, something like that.
Yep. No, I agree with that there, but that's obviously just something you have to consider there. Is there any other teams that you're looking to stack tonight? Obviously, we said every team is in play tonight. A lot of guys that you've probably never even heard of taking them out tonight. So there's something that you can do, like, Jonathan Heasley hasn't been great. Maybe the Orioles or something you can stack, but is there any other team that you can kind of eye in tonight that you can take a little stacky sack with?
I think that the Brewers are another team that should garner a bunch of ownership. They've got a nice matchup and they're pretty cheap. So they're somebody that I think will be popular, but certainly has upside against Eric Fetty. I would say if you're looking for like an off the wall contrarian type play, maybe you go with the Braves against my guy Contreras, right? Okay. I mentioned the strikeout upside for him, but certainly the upside is there on the other side too. They could easily get to him for a bunch of runs. And while I don't think people are going to be rushing to play Contreras in this spot, I don't think people are going to be rushing to stack against him either. Ronald Acuna has been so hot for the Braves. So I think that they're an interesting team to look at. Again, another team that's pricey though.
Very pricey. That's what I was going to say here. They're also a team that is very pricey. Like Dansby Swanson at 5,500. I'm like, yeah. Like that's kind of, we're kind of pushing it there a little bit.
Yeah.
But some of these other guys, like even Ozzie Albies batting 6, he's 4,600. I know he's been struggling a bit, dropped in the lineup at 4,600, but these guys are also very expensive too as well. So just something to consider though. But I do like that call going against Contreras because, like you said, it's not that people are going to be using Contreras as much, but that also means I don't think a lot of people are going to be going towards Atlanta as well. So there's something that you're probably going to get some low ownership too. Let's just be honest. Ownership on a 15-game slate is going to be so widespread to begin with anyways. I don't really worry about ownership as much, but at least for me, the pitching is so top heavy tonight that I think it's going to get teams like the Yankees, like the Braves, to be lower owned than you'd expect in some of these matchups. So I think that's something to consider too as well. Let's just switch over to the sportsbook side. I already gave you my favorite play tonight, Alvin Rodriguez over 2.5 runs given up. I mean, come on, that's just so absolutely asinine to just see that line. But I have no problem taking the over on that because just because a line feels like it's asinine doesn't mean you can't make money off it. And I'm looking to try to take some money off that. What is the strikeout prep for Barrios? I actually forgot to check that before this show started. 5.5.
Yes, 5.5.
5.5 at plus 120.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a good strikeout pitcher. I know the 13 in his last start. and certainly a good matchup. I think the plus odds make that playable for sure.
Yeah.
But that's about what I would have expected.
DK Sportsbook is, you know what I'm saying? Like, little, see what I'm doing? It's a little on a Friday. What the heck? I'm surprised by the plus 120. That just seems like if this was at minus 110 both sides, I probably wouldn't be into plus 120. I'm
Especially
surprised by
since
that.
you look there at his outs recorded line, that's set at 18.5. If he
Right.
pitches 6 innings, he should get to 6 strikeouts.
Yeah, because he only needs 1 per inning.
Right.
And at the rate that the Tigers are striking out, yeah. Is there any plays that you like in particular that doesn't have to, whatever you want to do? You don't have to get too fancy. It's a Friday night.
I'm definitely taking the Mets tonight against the Angels. I think that this is a nice spot. The Mets have kind of gotten hammered the past few games, but they had an off day. The Angels now have a win under their belt, so I don't think it's quite as desperate for them. And I'm a fan of Tyler McGill. I think he's a good pitcher, so I'll take them at minus 130. But if you're looking for more of a dog, I think you know where I'm going.
Oh,
Roansy, baby. Plus 180 on the money line with the Pirates.
Yep.
Love it. Yep. Love it. And if you want to run some strikeout props on him too, I think those are obviously pretty correlated. So I think that's a nice single game parlay candidate.
I can't take the over on 4.5 and minus 160 though.
Can we get any alternate lines?
Probably in those same game parlays though. If you make a same game parlay, you can certainly get an alternate line. But then you're getting dicey. Oh, you want to do it?
I want Pirates money line and Contreras 7+ strikeouts.
All right, let's do it real quick. 7+?
7+.
Okay, 525 plus 525.
There you go. You looking for a little Friday 2-game special? There it is.
I'm gonna put in LaMarca's units too. It's $1,000, so it'll be a 6,000. 6,000. I will. I don't do parlays a lot, but there is one money line parlay that I feel like would hit. Take Yankees, then you can go all the way down, and Padres. Parlay those two together, minus 104. See, I'm okay with that. Not a big parlay guy, but if some of these heavy money line favorites, I can get down with that. Getting close to even money on the Yankees and Padres to win against the Cubs and the Rockies. I feel pretty good about that.
Okay.
All right. As we've been doing, we've been ending with a little NBA talk because I know that is you're a big fan of the NBA. We do have game 3 tonight. Celtics 4-point favorites at home. Is it game 3 or game 4?
Everything in my heart.
Game 4.
Wants the Warriors to win this game, right? I want a good series. I want more basketball. But I think just looking at the evidence, the Celtics have been the better team, right? I mean, the Warriors have had a couple of monster third quarters to make things interesting, but the Celtics have won 2 of the 3 games despite getting pretty lackluster scoring production from Jason Tatum. And on the other side, Steph Curry has been pretty hot for the Warriors. So unless some of these role players for the Warriors step up, I mean, Klay Thompson was decent in game 3, but Jordan Poole has been a complete no-show. Andrew Wiggins has just been kind of, a consistent third option. Like, we're either going to need another Steph game or one of those guys is going to have to really step up. And I just feel more confident in the fact that Jason Tatum is going to break out and have a good game than I am about some of these Warriors role players. So again, my heart lies with the Warriors, but my money on this one sides with the Celtics.
If you were a trader and you were setting lines for this game, what would you set the line at that the Boston crowd is going to do a chant that includes the F word?
Off the board. I can't lose that kind of money. Off the board.
That's fair. I figured you'd give an answer like that. I figured you'd give it, but I had to throw it up. Maybe you had a contrarian take. It's Friday. We're all feeling frisky, so I just had to at least throw it out there and get your take on that. Okay, so on the Celtics tonight, would like the Warriors, but on the Celtics tonight, are you taking them straight up or are you taking the -4?
I would lay the points. I mean,
Yeah.
every game in this playoffs, it feels like, has been decided by 10 plus.
Right.
So there's no downside to laying the points with the favorite.
Okay, there you have it. Matt LaMarca giving you some insight on NBA and MLB. There's no reason for you tonight to not put some plays down and make your bar tab free for the night, courtesy of the insight that we have just given you, and use our Friday night to make you a little bit richer. That being said, coming up next on the Madden Simland, we have Lions at Eagles. I actually was told ahead of time, so I know what to tease, what's coming up. That's very important in the industry, but I'm not able to do it because they're all just sitting around doing nothing and they're just looking at their slacks and just whatever. But we got there. We're here. We're ready. It's Friday night. We're about to get frisky. NBA Game 4 tonight. 15 games. MLB coming up from Matt LaMarca, Steve Buchanan. We will see you next week. Peace.